Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives, and today we're going to be discussing episode 24 of Danny Phantom Rainstorm Part 1. Now, for those that are new here and only came here for Danny Phantom and thus haven't seen my Ben 10 retrospective videos, you're probably wondering why am I looking at one episode this week instead of like both of them at the same time? Well, that's because I'm going by an episode basis. As such, when it comes down to two-parters, I'm not gonna look. If the DVD, even if the episode was aired as an hour-long special, like in the case of today, if the DVD lists them as a two-parter, then Then I'm just gonna be looking at one episode at a time. I'm not. As such, I won't be going into my full thoughts in this video. I'll say that for next week, but I will at least give my thoughts on this one. So, if you're disappointed that I'm just looking at one episode instead of both, I'm sorry, but that's just how I do things here. If it's listed as a two-parter, I'm counting it as a two-parter. So, anyway, on to the summary of the episode. In the beginning of the episode, we get some more follow-up with Vlad, as the beginning, as the last time we saw Vlad was in the $1 Million Ghost episode, where he was in the ghost zone looking for something called the skeleton key, which, as he said, would be able to open any lock. As such, we get some follow up on that as he takes a skeleton key to the Fright Knight's castle. He goes inside and he goes into the throne room of someone called Pariah Dark. Apparently, the supposed king of all ghosts. The reason he's here, the Pariah apparently is apparently gone. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. My dog wanted to come in. Anyway, Pariah Dark himself is apparently not around. Apparently sealed away. But in a sarcophagus. But he's not here for him anyway. He's here for a ring. Apparently, this mystical enchanted ring that can supposedly give whoever wields it ultimate power over ghosts. So, Vlad, of course, wants to take this and use it, but the ring won't even spark. As such, he thinks, oh, okay, I just need the crown then. So he goes to Pariah's sarcophagus and uses the skeleton key to unlock it. However, it turns out that, Pariah isn't, in technical terms, dead. I mean, yeah, he's obviously dead. He's a ghost, but the instant that Vlad unlocks the sarcophagus, Pariah wakes up, and he immediately attacks Vlad. Vlad tries to run away, even blasting Vlad right out. Well, actually, he blasts Vlad right out of his castle, and then immediately he awakens the Fright Knight, whose pumpkin that he was sealed in was near his throne. As such, the instant the Fright Knight wakes up, he immediately bows to Pariah, and admittedly, I kind of like this little touch, because after all, he's called the Fright Knight, and a good knight always has a king, so it's kind of nice to see that there is kind of someone above the social hierarchy. Bottom line, he swears fealty to him, but Pariah needs his ring. So he immediately goes after Vlad to try and get the ring, but Vlad manages to escape him, although barely, as in the ensuing battle, he's transformed back into his human form and is thrown out of the ghost zone via the Fentons through the Fentons portal while they're working on what they call a Fenton ghost ectosuit, which is apparently called a Fenton ectosuit. Which is supposed to be able to enhance the physical strength and prowess of whoever wears it to the point where they could probably take on even the most powerful of ghosts in physical combat. As such, when Vlad comes out, he's in tatters, but he still has the ring, and, while Maddie is obviously still pissed at him from the last time she saw him, Jack still sees Vlad as a friend, and Vlad uses that to his advantage, even as they allow him to stay in their house, and they even care for him, or at least Jack does. Maddie just pours piping hot tea on him. But anyway, in the meantime, we see more of Danny and Valerie, so to speak, actually, yeah, I'll go into that. As that day, Danny, while running from Dash, runs into Valerie in the same hiding spot, and they're both hiding from different people. Like Valerie from a kid who wants to ask her to the prom in like 3 years, but and immediately in their haste they also run into Sam, who's running from her mom, trying to get her to wear a pink frou-frou dress, and they all go hide at the Fenton house, which is where Danny discovers Vlad, which is Danny finds Vlad. However, by that same and Vlad, in a joking manner, says that he winds up revealing his plans right away. That while arriving here for solace, he saw what the Fentons were working on, and he's decided, I'll just take it for myself. I'll just take that after they're done. He's going to probably take it for himself. But while this is going on, suddenly the alarm goes off. An alarm goes off in the household. And it turns out that the alarm is for something called the Ecto Exodus. It's an Ecto Exodus alarm. Pretty much, it's exactly what it says. If there was ever a massive excursion of ghosts that were coming from the ghost zone, then it would go off. Immediately, Maddie and Jack try to get into action, but Danny, wanting to take care of it himself, has his friends distract them while he goes to deal with it. In the meantime, Valerie tries to get ready, but it turns out that Vlad swiped her gear, and when she asks why how he knows about it, he pulls her aside and reveals that he's the one that gave her the gear. Even going out for a flight and explaining everything, saying that you got tenacity, you have drive, you got the prowess, and so while they're talking about, as they're talking about this, Vlad says, you're probably one of the best ghost hunters I've ever seen, and so to recognize that, I'll give you that. He gives her the ring under that pretense. It's obviously so that he's not caught with it, so that if Pariah Dark does come through the portal, then he won't get hurt, and thus also setting up Valerie as the fall girl. In the meantime, so Valerie takes the ring, thinking it's a gift, while Danny goes to try and deal with all the ghosts, and the alarm was not lying. It's a massive exodus of ghosts made up of not just Danny's enemies, but almost every other ghost in the ghost zone. And while they do beat the crap out of Danny on their way out, it turns out that they're not here to cause massive panic. They're running, specifically from Pariah Dark, and they start taking up refuge in Amity Park. Each of them picking a place to haunt Skulker a hunting lodge, Ember a music store, the Box goes to box store. The only person that doesn't take up a place to haunt is Sidney Poindexter, who's questioning all their methods because they're kind of being bullies in this regard. But in the meantime, the Fright Night manages to rally Pariah Dark's armies and to try and charge into Amity Park to get the ring back. And so the armies start charging through, and so the armies come through and start attacking everybody. And so Danny goes to fight them. However, when he does this, it turns out that Vlad is also there for some reason because they were attacking his school, and somehow Vlad was there. And then, of course, in all the confusion, Valerie shows up and sends Danny and Vlad in their ghost form. She sees them as enemies too, but Danny manages to at least get a moment with her and explains that at the moment the Fright Night is the biggest concern, which of course because he's right there. And while Valerie openly admits that she still doesn't trust Danny, he says that's fine. He's like, I don't need you to trust me. I just need you to fight with me. And so they shake hands and form another truce as Danny, Vlad, and Valerie all join forces against the Fright Night. And I'll openly admit I actually really like this moment because all three of them we've seen before that all three of them are very skilled fighters in their own right. And so to see them all ganging up on the Fright Night is actually really nice. It's just kind of cool. But the Fright Night, now angered, says, "Fine, this is how you want to be. I just came here for the ring. But if you guys are gonna make this difficult for me, then I'm finally gonna have to do this last thing." And so he pulls out his sword and thrusts it in the ground and says, "I claim this entire land in the name of my king, Pariah Dark." And suddenly the sword, much like in Fright Night, unleashes a giant blast of energy that completely coats Amity Park in a giant green dome, and the energies of the dome wind up forming into a image of Pariah Dark's face, and well, that's where the episode ends for that. As such, I will admit that's a really nice place to end for a cliffhanger. I think that's a nice place to have a cliffhanger. In the meantime, though, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go into full details on my full thoughts. I'm not going to go into full detail on my thoughts on this because, especially since as a kid, only partially saw this episode. I think I might have only seen the whole of it once. But on the whole, but as a first part of a two-parter, I think it's fine. I think it's a nice setup, and I like it. Like for starters, we get some payoff for what Vlad was doing, and we get the introduction of this new villain, Pariah, and we get the introduction of Pariah Dark. And while we don't see a lot of him, and while we do see a small taste of his power, you do kind of get a scope of what he's capable of. The fact that every other ghost in the Ghost Zone is running in fear of him. The fact that he's able to get the Fright Knight, who is this, who the first time we saw him is this big, was this strong, terrifying force who could inspire fear in men's hearts by just slashing them with his, who can inspire fear in men's hearts, who could literally twist the reality into your worst fears, now swearing fealty to him. And in the small brief bits that we get of him, well, we don't, it's admittedly, it's a pretty interesting. It's actually a pretty nice setup. Like maybe like he's capable of a lot more than he is, and his design. But honestly, though, his design is honestly kind of, It's not awful, but it's just big. Like he's big and burly. He kind of looks like a Viking, actually. Like he's got an eye patch with a scar on it, a flaming crown, like two horns with one of them broken off. He's just kind of. He looks like a Viking leader, and I think that's honestly why I'm kind of saying to his design. It's not bad, just I don't know. I just kind of expect something a little bit more interesting, I suppose. I don't know, but that's just me. Not a bad design. Just me personally think I just kind of find it meh. But again, I do kind of also like the stakes and the build up to all this too. Like the fact that his mirror awakening caused all the ghosts in the Ghost Zone to bail out of the Ghost Zone to hide in Amity Park. That's kind of interesting. And the fact that he's leading this entire army looking for his ring, and there's still more setup for things to come, like Vlad hiding the ring with Valerie to keep himself free with the Fenton Ecto suit that's still being developed. In fact, we also got a nice scene of that too, as when the Fright Knight led the Pariah Dark's forces out of Amity Park. Of course, they had to go through the Fenton Ghost Portal, and so in the meantime, the Fenton Ecto suit wasn't done yet, but they managed to get the pants and the neural interface ready. Though Jack even admitted that it wasn't fully augmented, it wasn't fully calibrated yet, so using it could kill him. But because the Fright Knight attacked Maddie, both Jack and Vlad are angry, and well, since Vlad doesn't like Jack and he heard it's going to kill him, he says, "Well, why don't you use it? It's your stuff. You could probably take care of it." So Jack immediately puts on the pants and we actually, just from the pants, he actually is able to fend off the Fright Knight. He has the pants allow him to super speed around the room and even manages to deliver high speed kicks that send the Fright Knight flying right out of the house. But the only reason he can't continue is that the strain, like you said, the strain is too much. It causes him to get weak and almost pass out. As such, they can't abuse this. And so I like that kind of build-up. And another thing I also like is that the episode continues expanding on other plot details, for starters. Like, for example, the continuing relationship budding between Danny and Valerie. Like, again, in the beginning, she was just kind of a background Valley Girl character, but then she became center stage. And that episode started opening up little possibilities of where her character could go, and of her showing character growth. And then the next episode, and the next time we saw her, we actually saw her and Danny bonding in and out of their dual identities, which I thought was really nice. And this episode kind of further expands on that as they continue talking and actually kind of growing a kinship. Even Danny starting to call her Val. And even then, while she still sees Danny as the enemy in his ghost form, to the fact that he's actually offering his hand in friendship to try to at least to fend off the Fright Knight, shows that he's starting to trust her more. Yeah, which I actually really like. I think it's just really nice. And again, how it continues on another plot thread, Valerie is able to pick up that Sam likes Danny, and she ends up giving Sam some kind of helpful advice, saying, if you really like him, and I mean like him, you should make a move now, because if you don't, someone else will. And with the way Valerie is looking, it's obvious that she's kind of starting to have a thing with Danny as well. Which, yeah, that does get expanded on later. As such, again, I don't really know how to go. I can't go into full details of the first part because it's just the first part of the episode. But I think as set up for the story, I think it does it. I think it does its job well. It's not a bad beginning. It's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Like we get we get the unveiling of a big villain. Hold on, dog. Sorry. It's his walk time. He wants to go out, so I'm gonna try and wrap this up as quickly as I can. So we get the reveal of a new, bigger villain. We get the return of an old one, and who's the fact that he's kneeling towards this new one is kind of showing his power. We get some really big events in having two armies of ghosts race out into the human world, both for different reasons. We get some setup for what's happening later with Vlad giving the ring, the ecto suit, and so forth. And I do like the climax of this episode, and the ending is a decent cliffhanger. So yeah, again, not on the whole, the first part of Rainstorm is a good start, a pretty good start. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week for part 2. See you then. Bye bye.